you can provide value to somebody else without the expectation that they should automatically give you something in return, those people are more than likely going to be amazing people to have a really strong relationship with long term, and they will elevate your game. Like, you want to be surround yourself with people what you're doing or what you want to be doing.
Hi, this is Garrett Sutton, and you're listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below. Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Cavaggioni, and today's guest is Michael Elefante. So, Michael, super excited to have you on. Also, good to have another Michael on the show. Welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Mike, thanks for having me. Super stoked to talk to you today.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, I am super stoked to talk to you, especially with what we're going to talk about. So speaking of, I want to start this off the same way I start every podcast episode, and we want to know more about you. So if you could share a little bit about yourself, share your story, go into as much detail as you want or share as little as you want. We'll get into it. And tell me, who is Michael Elefante?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with the end. I currently live near Greenville, South Carolina with my wife. We have 2 dogs, German Shorthair Pointers. They're crazy. We love to travel, and just 4 months ago, she gave birth to our first child, little baby girl. So she's 4 months old as the beginning of February here. But rewinding it back a few years, I was a college athlete, played baseball, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So when that career came to a screeching halt, I just had to pick something and go for it. So I got the first job out of college, or when my career was over, as an entry-level business development representative, making cold calls, 70 to 100 calls a day for a tech company that I had no interest in doing. But I heard you could make some money in tech sales. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. So initially it was like, hey, I'm just going to work hard and build up the corporate ladder, and eventually start making what I thought at the time was like really good money, and I could just live the life of my dreams. Quickly came to hate that mindset. Really learned to value my time over income. So over the next several years, I side hustled a little bit, started to work up corporate ladder, went from business development to inside sales, got another inside sales job, and then I switched companies several times and got an outside sales job. That's focusing on my income enabled me to save up at a much more efficient and quicker pace, so I could figure out what I wanted to invest in, whether it was a business, whether it was real estate, the stock market. And I listened to a ton of YouTube podcasts, read a bunch of books. And the one thing that just made sense to me was investing in real estate, probably because it's a tangible thing you can invest in. And just at the simplest terms, invest in this asset and you have revenue minus your expenses, and you'll ultimately left over with cash flow. You could also create wealth over time. So it made sense to me. So fast forward, this is from 2016, leaving at the end of college, to several years just bouncing around between all these different ideas. I learned about short-term rentals and Airbnb. And I moved from Dallas to Austin to Nashville, 3 very hot touristy towns, growing cities. So we moved to Nashville. I started just to crunch numbers. My wife and I were staying in this little condo while we were looking to buy our first home for ourselves to live in when we moved there. And I started to look at the nightly rate and online about what the rough occupancy number was, and then what they probably bought the place for. I was like, if these numbers are right, this is insane. Like, why wouldn't I do this? So long story short, we eventually grew the courage to buy our first property at the end of 2019. By the 3rd month, we were set to cash flow $7,000 on a single property in 1 month. And then COVID hit, and then we had 40 grand in cancellations, but I was all in on this strategy. I didn't think COVID would last as long as it did, as far as how it affected travel and hospitality, but liquidated our 401k and IRAs, got our second property, saved up for a third, partnered on our fourth. And we became financially free in 12 months of making our first investment, quit our jobs in, I think, under 16 months, and traveled in a camper van for a year, managing 4 properties from our phone, making all this money and just like working a couple hours a week. living the dream. And then toward the end of our camper trip, we actually acquired 2 more properties. So at that time, it was 6 properties, doing around $80,000 to $100,000 a month in revenue and clearing between $30,000 and $50,000 depending on the month in cash flow. My wife got pregnant. We ended up buying a house, settling. It was either a bigger van or a house. So we all opted for the house. And that's where we wound up today. And then we just closed on our 7th property. We also have one rental arbitrage deal as well. It's been a wild ride. So hopefully that wasn't too lengthy of an introduction, but that's where everything started and stemmed from and where we ended up today.
No, that's awesome, Michael. So I'm sitting here jotting down notes as you're going. And I feel like you were in that same spot that I feel like a lot of people get into. They get into that 9-to-5 job or that typical sales job or something after they finish school, and they're trying to figure it out. And they're like, man, this kind of bites. I'm not sure I really want to do this. And then you start exploring, like doing different side hustles, right? And you were like, I definitely want to invest in something. And you were looking at the stock market, and then you found real estate. I think you and I like real estate for the same reason, because it's a tangible, real asset that it's just there. It's not like paper money. It's not like this. You log into a brokerage account to see what's going on, and you can't really touch or feel that, right? Real estate, you can go to the property, look at it physically, touch it, feel it, see what it looks like, see what it smells like. Those are all very important things. Yeah, I think you and I really have the same mindset when it comes to that. So that's awesome. But anyway, so you bought your first property. When was it?
2019 is when we closed.
2019. Okay. I thought you said 2013. I was like, dang, man, that's crazy. And it took you how long to get your next one? No, that doesn't sound right. Okay. So 2019. And crazy thing about that is I was closing on my first property at the end of 2019 as well. I first got back into real estate investing and literally closed in February of 2022. I'm sorry, February of 2020. And we all know what happened the very next month. So I feel like you felt that same pain in the beginning too. You're like, okay, we got this place, it's doing great. And all of a sudden, punched in the face by COVID. But the thing is, you didn't let that hold you back. A lot of people that got caught up when COVID first happened, that's the reason why a lot of investors got a lot of really good deals, is people were liquidating their real estate because they were just so scared of what was coming, right? And they didn't see the opportunity that was there. You did the opposite. You said, this kind of sucks, but we can keep going, right? You picked up more properties, which is fantastic. So you guys hit the road. You're managing 4 properties on your phone, living out of a van, right? You said out of a van? Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. That's like that nomadic dream that I see a lot of people doing that. There's a lot of Instagram creators and just influencers out there that do that, right? They live out of a van and they live this mobile life. So that's fantastic. But you had the baby, settled down. So congratulations on that. That's an amazing thing. I have 2 daughters myself, so I know that is one thing that sometimes you might have to take a step back and say, okay, let's settle down and have a little bit of normalcy here. But it didn't stop you from doing what you're doing. You just picked up your 7th property, right? So that's amazing. And you said you have one rental arbitrage as well, right?
Yeah, it's a rental arbitrage. It's not a long lease. But yes, we have one rental arbitrage deal.
Okay, cool. So that's the recap there, everybody. If you weren't paying attention to what he said, now you just heard it from me too. That's awesome, dude. As you're doing all of this, especially when you guys decided to live this mobile life, what I'm curious about is you're living out of a van. Did you move into the van after the first property, or was it after the second?
It was after the 4th, actually. And
after the 4th,
quit our jobs. We didn't even have time to breathe. We bought our first property ended 2019. We acquired 3 within the next 12 months.
And great.
In that 11th and 12th month live on Airbnb and Vrbo, I think we net 15,000 and then maybe over 20,000 those 2 months. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm not even working like at all. And I think it was like I took advantage of the COVID situation for better or worse, but I was working remote. I didn't have to travel to see customers for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I just traveled to Gatlinburg, the Smoky Mountains, where we set up our 3rd and 4th property. I just lived in the house for 30 days while we set it up and worked remote for my day job in the hours of the day. And it wasn't too bad. But yeah, it was about 16 months after that we actually quit our jobs. And within a week, we left our home and hopped in the van and hit the road.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area too. I've been there before. Really nice. Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, just the Smoky Mountains, just really nice. And a lot of tourism. You get a lot of people visiting that area every single year. And it's not really seasonal, right? You get people that want to go there in the wintertime too, because it's beautiful year round. Yeah, definitely a great place to be. So you guys got the 4 properties. Now, what made you decide that, hey, let's pack everything up and be nomads and live out of a van? Like, what was it like after that 4th property that you guys were just like, hey, let's do it?
Yeah. So my wife and I both love to travel. She more or less gave me the travel bug when we first met. She's been to like 26 or 27 countries. So she's did a ton of travel abroad in college, traveled with her mom a bunch, and then I traveled with her some in the past several years. But I was always wanted to see the whole US. I think most people get so caught up in traveling abroad, they just forget how beautiful most of the United States are and how diverse the landscape is here. So I wanted to go explore the western half of the US. I've been all over the East Coast growing up. So that's ultimately was like the deciding factor. And my wife laughed at the idea of moving into a van at first and minimalizing a bit with all aspects of our life. But I think we really enjoyed it. It was like 80% of the time, it was exactly what it was caked up to be. And then 20% of the time is pretty brutal van life. Like you're just sitting in a parking lot or trying to find cool weather or shade. But for the most part, it was fun. It was a cool experience.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great experience. And it's a good thing she gave you that travel bug because now you got to go out and live that nomadic lifestyle. But now things have changed, right? So what was the decision factor after you guys had your child that made you say, hey, instead of getting the bigger van or an RV or something, let's actually settle down and get a place to raise our family?
Yeah, we loved van life. I think we were ready to move into a bigger space and just unwind a little bit. But yeah, it's more or less just I didn't see having an infant in a van being super mobile. And I'm really glad we didn't do that because that would be super tough. So that was ultimately what it was. And we moved back toward the East Coast and we both grew up in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So a little closer to family, which helps as far as like visiting. I want her grandparents to be super involved and be able to see her grow up. So we didn't want to be on the road constantly, at least not right now. So that's why we ended up choosing to settle back down.
Okay. No, hey, all good reasons, man, and close to family. And the beautiful thing about that is that you had the freedom to make that decision to say, you know what, let's go move over here and be close to family. That's great. Now, I want to ask you, when you went from that first deal to you bought three more in a 12-month period after that, what was that process like? Like, how did you find the deals and make that happen, especially in such a short period of time?
Yeah, for sure. So the first deal, I was looking at Gatlinburg and Nashville. We lived in Nashville, so it's kind of just the easy two markets, growing, bustling towns, high tourism. I worked with a realtor in both markets, and the first two we bought were in Nashville, and the second two in Gatlinburg. The first two was more or less working with a realtor who understood the permitting in Nashville to be a non-owner occupied permit for vacation rentals. So I just said, hey, can you just handpick properties that met my criteria and send them over? And then I would run a little quick deal analysis on them, and if it made sense from an ROI perspective, we went after it. The first one, like a lot of things I wish I knew starting out. I wish I knew how to forecast how much it costs to furnish a property starting out. So we bought a 4-bedroom house over our heads a little bit. And I sold my truck that I had just finished paying off of a dream truck at the time in order to have enough money to furnish the property. And then the second property, we were all in just because we saw the results from the first one once the bookings came in, liquidated my 401k, and my wife liquidated her IRA. So it was funded through that. We bit the tax penalty, but not financial advice to anyone out there, but best decision we ever made. And then the third one was we just buckled down on work and we were both in sales. So just saved up some of our commissions and salary and then cash flow from our two properties in order to fund the third. And then the fourth one, we actually did a cash out refinance on our primary home in Nashville and took that money tax-free, pulled it out and moved it into that fourth opportunity. And we actually partnered with somebody on the fourth one, 50-50.
Nice, right on. Great way to do it. And you kept finding a new way to make that next deal happen. And I think that's one of the great things about people that are really creative with their financing and real estate, because you'll find a way to make that deal happen. Even on that fourth one, when you were like, okay, how are we going to figure this one out? You partnered up with somebody, right, to make that work. So that's fantastic, man. Now, that's how you got those first four. Now, how did 5, 6, and 7 happen? Because now, that 12-month period happened, life's changing. You guys moved into a van, you're managing it from a phone. How did the other deals like come to fruition?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, when we moved into a van, we had virtually tiny living expenses, like almost nothing, right? It was just the van. We actually rented out our primary residences to a long-term tenant, and we had a lot of cash flow coming in. I think our third month in the van, it was July of 2021. 4 short-term rentals brought in over $80,000 and we cash flowed over 50 grand in a month. And we worked like a few hours that month. And that was just like, it felt ridiculous. I was like, how is this even possible? Like I would work my ass off to try and make 50K in a year, let alone a month. So seeing that come to fruition was really cool. But I just say that to frame the next steps. I was like, hey, we'll just save up as much as we can. We don't need to buy anything. We don't have room to buy anything. If we bought it, where are we going to put it? In the van with us? Low living expenses, high income from our rental properties. We just saved up for the next one. And then what we did, since the real estate market went bananas, and we also did rehabs on two of the 4 initial properties, we had significant equity position in multiple of them. So we actually did 3 cash out refis and repositioned some of that equity into a new property or 2 new properties. So we were able to pull out over $600,000 in equity through cash out refis and move that into new properties and take some of it also to buy our primary house that we currently live in.
Nice. So you guys essentially did Airbnbs.
Yes,
right there.
That's right. Exactly.
No, that's fantastic, man. Now, what does your organization look like right now? Do you guys have a team? Do you outsource to anybody, especially now that you've settled down, you've got the baby? So what do your operations look like today?
Yeah, for sure. So in each market, we have a local cleaner, maintenance, handyman, landscapers, those types of folks that we contract out. We actually, my wife and I were operating on our own. We didn't hire VAs or anything for the first 3 years. And then one of my students of my short-term rental investing course, B&B Investor Academy, he's one of the first people actually to take it in 2021. He had scaled very quickly to 6 properties in a year and he was crushing it. He proposed co-founding a property management company for vacation rentals. And I've always been a big proponent of self-managing. I still am. But there was a huge void in the industry with really poor management, a lot of legacy property managers that did not do justice for their clients and their homeowners. So we co-funded that. We very quickly grew over the past probably 8 months now to about 100 properties under management. And now I delegate a lot of the day-to-day work and management to our team for my individual properties. I'm still active, especially on the pricing side, but all the day-to-day communication, like 99% of it is through our team.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like in a just over 3, almost 4-year period, not only did you grow and scale to have 7 Airbnb properties yourself, but you also have a property management company that has over 100 properties under management, right? That's fantastic. And you have a course too, right? You have the Airbnb Investor Academy, right? So in just under 4 years to be able to build what you've built is just absolutely amazing, man. Well done. Congratulations, man.
Thanks.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, a lot of it honestly sprouted from creating content online. I never thought I still don't even like creating content, to be honest with you, but I started pushing content on YouTube because I learned so much from other creators on YouTube in the finance and real estate realm. So I was like, I'm just going to start sharing whatever. And that's what they all encourage you to do. Just share and see if it resonates. And it took a while. YouTube is hard. And I wasn't good at it, to be honest. So I started doing TikTok in November of 2020. And at that time, I had finally gotten 1,000 subs on YouTube. And I had I did a competition with a friend. We did a TikTok a day for 30 days. I had a few videos get several 100,000 views. All of a sudden, I'm at 10,000 followers in a month. And I'm like, this is crazy. YouTube is so hard. I pour so much hard work into it, editing and all that. And my whole mindset with TikTok was to get people to come over to YouTube and watch my videos, which I provided the most free value in. That was like the wrong mindset. Like I didn't see the writing on the wall that short form content is now becoming king. Long form content,
even on YouTube
valuable.
With
Even
YouTube shorts, yeah,
100%. And Instagram and Facebook, Meta and YouTube, they all mimicked TikTok as soon as they saw that explode. So my mindset was completely wrong, but I still continued to push a bunch of content on TikTok. And all of a sudden I had a few 100,000 followers. Now I'm almost at 1 million followers on TikTok and had an audience. And I do consider myself to be one of the leading short-term rental educators in the space and influencer, if you will. But for a long time, I was like, this is crazy that like I'm in this position now. So I just tried to provide as much transparency on my own business as possible. And it resonated with people. Here's how much money we're actually making or not making each month. Here, the breakdown from each property. People love seeing behind the scenes instead of just, I'm in my Rolls Royce because my Airbnb business is crushing it. Click my link in my bio. So I think it was more just like the organic. It felt like people knew me in a way. So I was doing free coaching for a year. And then a bunch of people were like, why don't you build a course or do coaching? I'm like, nah, man, I don't do that. And like, well, you should. I'd buy it. And I'm like, really? So my wife convinced me, hey, why don't you build something? So I built a few iterations of a video course, some coaching programs, and I was helping people like crush it. And I was like, I'm probably not charging enough for this because I'd have people come back and tell me they cash flowed over 10 grand on one property in the first month, But it was motivating. I was like, this is so cool. It's fulfilling for me to help other people succeed. So the content thing just grew and grew, and all these other businesses sprouted from it. And I just took it and ran with it. And now I do stuff that I enjoy, which is great. So I have the property management company. I have the academy, which has grown to, it'll be a multiple seven-figure business this year. I have a bunch of coaches and a sales team, and it's been a great operation. I also have a short-term rental design company, Summerled Designs. I'm a small partner, and the two girls that run it are incredible. And they've turned properties into cash flowing machines through epic design and staging and photography. And then I'm about to launch a website here soon, which I'm bringing like a bunch of resources online for people to use to help them along their journey with short-term rentals.
That is phenomenal, man. Like that's the definition of crushing it right there, Michael. Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely were able to take advantage of the short form content on TikTok. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I think I'm at like 1,800 something subscribers, and that's about it on TikTok. But yeah, it's that's what people want. They want those short bites, right? They want that quick hit of information. But I think what people really like about what you're putting out too is the authenticity and the transparency in what you're doing, like showing, hey, here's our actual numbers. Because there's a lot of people that'll be out there and they'll say, yeah, I'm doing A, B, C, and D, click my link and take my course or whatever. You're like, hey, yeah, you could take my course if you want, but here's what we're actually doing, right? Like here's numbers, here's what this looks like, right? So if you're interested in that, now come hit me up. And I think that it's a lot more appealing to somebody that's just swiping through and this is in the niche that they're looking at. They're like, huh, this might be a good thing for me to check out. Yeah, I believe in like courses, coaching, all that stuff. If it's from the right person in the right niche and it's good content, it's 100% worth it. There's a lot out there that are kind of garbage. Got to watch out for that. If I come out with some course, it's probably going to be garbage. No, I'm kidding. But it's those are the kind of things that you want to look out for, right? You want to make sure the person that you're getting that information from is legit. And dude, you're legit, man. You're killing it.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
I love it. So now with your actual content, sharing the stuff that you're doing on Airbnb and everything, have you started to outsource any of that? Like, do you have people that help you with your content, like video editors or anything like that? I know I started outsourcing my stuff to a VA, and my VA is phenomenal. She actually takes care of everything for me. And I'm actually starting to gain more followers because of that, because now I could spend more time on other things while she's creating this short form content for me. Have you found anything like that's useful?
Yeah, I outsourced all the editing. That was the most time consuming thing, and I was terrible at it.
Yes.
And I
oh my goodness.
I encourage anyone who wants to create content, I would outsource that first, because then you could focus on content. Then you could also outsource maybe as you really grow and monetize on some other things. But that was the first thing. I'm probably going to hire a social media manager who can come out to my house and professionally film a bunch of videos like 2 days a month, and then take those videos, do long form and short form and chop them up, and then also post them for me. So I still post everything on my own, except for Instagram. I have a team that handles my Instagram and Twitter and runs threads for me. And I work with them weekly on creative, and then they go post and help with call to action. And then I have a team also that helps with a lot. I have an overwhelmingly amount of DMs. So currently my brother actually helps with that and address any questions people have and make sure we're getting them the right information.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's what you got to do. I have my VA also handles all my social media. She'll post everything. She has access to my Instagram, all that good stuff. And it's phenomenal, man. I'll tell you, one of the things that helps me out a lot that then I think people that are listening would appreciate this too. I don't know if you've ever heard of AppSumo, but on AppSumo, there's this software that I got called Postly. And Postly is a way to link all your social media accounts to this one specific thing. And you could post from that to every single one at the same time, right? You can change the like if you need it to be, like reel length or TikTok length and stuff, you can have it look like that, all that stuff. And you can post it separately if you need to. You can schedule it. So that's actually what my VA uses to schedule everything, except for Instagram. She actually will go in and do it manually because I guess the algorithm likes that better. But yeah, man, Postly is phenomenal. And then it won't post to my TikTok, but it will upload it. And all I have to do is go into TikTok and I see that there's something pending and I just post it and it's done.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. I need to look into that.
Lifetime license, I think, was $59 when I got it. It might be a little bit more now. And I don't know how much longer they're going to do the lifetime license. And by the time this episode comes out, my listeners, hopefully it's still there. But yeah, AppSumo, I absolutely love it. Great stuff there. You got to watch out though, because they have so much good stuff that you might spend too much money. You got to watch out. Yeah. All right, man. So cool. Now, what are you doing now? So you have all these things going on, are you still actively looking for that next Airbnb to purchase? Like, what does your process look like for that? How are you finding the next deal?
Yeah, we're going all out on this upcoming one. We're about to dump probably $500,000 into this. Will probably be one of the most epic properties in all of the North Carolina mountains.
Is this number 7?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be so sick. We just committed to doing a putt course on the front terrace of the house, and we have a sport
What?
court with a full court basketball court and pickleball court. We'll have a theater room, a game room. It'll be like 19, like Roaring 20s themed, Biltmore Estate-esque type theme, but it's going to be like to the max. It'll sleep like 20 people. It's going to be bonkers.
This is one of those high end, you and your friends are all going to this place.
Yeah, it won't be cheap, but 20 people, it would be worth it for sure with what we'll charge. But what we're focusing on, though, at this point in time is I want to create killer experiences to give travelers like the experience of a lifetime. That's what I'm after. And it's going to be a timeless property. That's what I want. I don't want to compete on price. I want to compete on value and experience. So that's what we're focused on now. But yeah, I'll try and get at least one, if not two more, I think, throughout the rest of this year in 2023.
That's cool, man. That's one of those properties like you book that place just to go there. You're not going anywhere else. Maybe you'll pick up some groceries like to cook and stuff, but you guys ain't going nowhere. You got everything you need, right? Exactly, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah. That's a good thing that I like about a lot of Airbnb. A lot of short-term rentals right now are going more for that experience versus you're like, oh, it's like a hotel. No, it's not like a hotel. It's like you're going here. This place is awesome. I got a buddy of mine who's got one down in Orlando that's like completely themed, like different rooms are themed a different way, like a Mario room. They've got a Star Wars room that like the beds are like at-ats and stuff. And it's just super cool, man. Like when you get to experience something like that and people dig that, and then they'll pay more money. They'll pay a premium for the experience. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's the key word right there, that you're creating an experience for them, not just a place to put their head at night and sleep.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, totally.
Awesome, man. Cool. Yeah, man. I'm trying to figure out what else I want to ask you about the Airbnb side. So after you finish this one, actually, what's the timeline look on that? When's this one going to be available?
The goal is 6 to 8 weeks. 6 would be
Okay.
pushing it a little bit because we're doing quite a bit of rehab to the property and making some updates, but 6 to 8. So what is it? February 2nd. We're recording this today. I'm hoping to have it live by April.
Okay. Yeah. And by the time this episode comes out, it'll be around that time frame. So it's usually about a 3-month turnover. Yeah. Okay, cool, man. And that's a pretty quick turnaround it sounds like for the amount of work that you're doing as well. So you must have really good contractors on the job.
Yeah, we have a contractor that actually one of my students in the course had used in the past, and he said she was a rock star and she's been great so far. So knock on wood, everything should go as planned, but she's loaded with contacts in the area. And if she doesn't know, she'll find out. So
that's
she's already
awesome.
The day we got the key, she met us at the house. It was like the 3rd time she's met us there, and she's took the key and she said, I'll take care of everything. So.
Nice, man. It's funny. I was going to ask you too. That was going to be my next question is like, how did you find her? Really awesome that you were able to find her through one of your students. And the thing is like everything that you've built from the time you started and now, especially with this course that you have and the students you bring in, not only are you getting like really awesome students that are going out there and crushing it too, but you got like this tiny little network of like insiders, right? Like that think the same way you think, right? Because they're following your process. So when they find something really good, they're like, hey, Michael, this is the contractor you need to use, right? And I think that's very powerful. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that too much. That's one of the things I like to talk about too, like my podcast itself, the network that I've built just from meeting amazing people and bringing these guests on my show like you, man. Like I know if I've got some stuff with Airbnb and I want to do it in a specific area and it's an area that you're in, I'm going to hit you up, like hook me up with some contract, give me some contacts, man. What's going on? That's really important, man. It's about who you know as well and building relationships. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have probably heard your network is your net worth. And as cheesy as that is, it really couldn't be further from the truth. If you can foster relationships with people who are influential in whatever industry that you're in, they're going to know somebody. If they connect you with that person, they're going to know somebody. And just be on the value first mindset. If you can provide value to somebody else without the expectation that they should automatically give you something in return, those people are more than likely going to be amazing people to have a really strong relationship with long term, and they will elevate your game. Like you want to surround yourself with people, what you're doing or what you want to be doing. So you want to be around people that lift you up and not bring you down.
100%, man. I love that. And you know, it's funny. I was literally speaking at a conference 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about the power of networking. And I even said it too. I said, it's a very cliche saying when you say your network is your net worth, but it's cliche for a reason because it's true. It wouldn't be something that's cheesy and overused if it wasn't something that carried a lot of weight behind it. People say that for a reason, and there really is power in a network. I 100% believe that, man. Yeah, dude, this was awesome, man. This is great. I really love what you're doing. You're crushing it, bro. Just keep doing what you're doing, man. I want to transition this now into something that I call the final round. It's where I'm going to ask you the same 4 questions I ask everybody that comes on this show, and gives us an idea of how you are when you're put under pressure and put on the spot, which I'm pretty sure we know how this is going to go because you're killing it, man. So if you're ready to go, we'll get this party started.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. Hey, so Michael, first question of the final round is, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in real estate? And we'll keep this specific to Airbnb.
The biggest mistake I ever made was not leveraging software and data when I first started. It's all readily available and it's cheap to use, and it frees up your time, and it allows you to scale faster and a much quicker pace. So leveraging tech to automate the operations, even leveraging data and tech to make data informed decisions on where to invest, what type of property, what location, what amenities to provide. Those types of things I did not leverage for my first really 2 properties, and I couldn't regret it anymore. Luckily, we were successful on those first 2, but I rely on those items that I mentioned heavily now in every single investment I do.
Awesome, man. Actually, I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. What would you say is the top pieces of software or tech that you use that helps you with your business?
Yeah, so before making the investment, you want to leverage data in the industry. AirDNA is probably the market leader. There's several other sites out there as well, but that's the one I use the most. And that gives you the historical data on occupancy rates every single month. You could use filters. I could look at a certain zip code in a city and a state and look at 3-bedroom properties that accommodate 6 to 8 people and see every single month what the market was occupied, like what percentage of days they were booked over the past several years. Same with daily rates, same with revenue. But most important thing for me is looking at the supply in a market, and then also where the top properties are located. They'll show you on a map. You can look at their listings, what they're charging, what amenities they have. So that really helps me understand, hey, this is my exact criteria for this market. And then on the management side, property management software, and then a dynamic pricing are the 2 biggest things. And then a certain app they just changed the name to Turno actually today, but Turnover B&B is what they previously called themselves, or Resort Cleaning, to sync calendars and communication with your cleaners. So those are like the 3 biggest things
Awesome.
on the management side.
Awesome. Great, man. I appreciate that. A lot of value there. All right, cool. Next question is, what is something that you've learned that you wish you knew when you first started?
That you don't need to know everything before actually taking that first step. And it's cheesy and you might hear a lot of people say it, but I would be worth like $20 million if I just made the first investment and not cared so much if it was perfect years before I started. I also wish I knew I didn't need a ton of money to start. You hear that all the time, but I was like, that sounds impossible. It's really not. You just have to take the time to learn what that means, whether it's partnering, whether it's rental arbitrage, whether it's leveraging creative financing. There's a way to start, and you don't need to know it all. And you don't need to know what happens after you make the acquisition entirely. You're going to make mistakes, but I'd rather fail sooner, fail fast, so I could be more successful quicker as well.
I love that, man. And with all the things that you're saying are cheesy, my lactose intolerant listeners might be getting sick by now. No, I'm kidding. Hey, actually, I literally was just talking to somebody the other day about that as well. I think that was the same exact answer they gave me to that question about it doesn't need to be perfect, right, in order to make it happen. And a lot of people chase perfection and get stuck in a bubble because of that. And I think that's a very important thing. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Okay, the next question I have for you, Michael, is do you have any tips or tricks that you would recommend to someone that is just getting started out in this business today?
Honestly, and it's something I did not do early on because I always thought I could just figure it out on my own, is find a mentor, whether it's free or paid. Find a mentor or coach who's doing and operating at the level that you honestly seek to operate at. They're like the coaching industry for real estate, for business, for sales has exploded. And there's some bad, but there's a lot of really good coaches and programs out there. I offer one now, and I wish I took one when I first started. And I've invested nearly $100,000 in myself and my businesses in coaching and consulting, well over 100K actually in the past 4 months alone. And it has taken me, it'll 10 or 20X my business this year alone. So I kick myself for not doing that sooner, but the most important investment you can ever make is in yourself.
Appreciate that answer, man, because that provides a lot of value to like somebody who's just getting started out, right? They might not know to even think about looking at that, right? They want to just go in right away and be like, I need to get this first property and not worry about some of the other things that might be able to be very useful to them when they acquire that asset. So awesome, man. Okay. I have one more question and then that's it for the final round. And the last one is, do you have a favorite business, investing, or real estate related book or podcast or both?
Yeah, I think, what got me initially started in creating content, I really like Graham Stephan's channel, mainly because
I love his channel.
Yeah, he's so
awesome.
good. He's so good at crafting videos and holding audience attention. But what actually intrigued me the most was just that he was open and transparent about, hey, here's how I make money on YouTube and some other things with affiliate marketing and partnerships and other business ideas. And that's what actually made me eager to be more or less a social media entrepreneur. And then on the real estate side of things, there's several really good books, but the one thing that personally got me over the hump was Flow Quadrant, which is a sequel essentially to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And there's a lot of monotony in that book. It drags out like a lot of books do, but there was like a few really good takeaways. And the biggest thing for me was addressing risk and what I thought was risky in life. And I thought having a nice, safe, secure job was less risky than investing, because if you invest your money inherently, sure, you could lose some or all of your money. But what really got me over the hump was understanding what is the risk of not investing. It became a lot riskier to risk working 40 to 50 years of my life doing something I didn't want to do. And I didn't want to have regret on my deathbed. Like, man, I can't believe I worked 40 years just for the sake of hopefully retiring one day. So the risk almost melted away completely. And ever since then, I've been like all in and way more receptive to taking risks on the investment front.
All right. Yeah, that's a great recommendation. And I just want to point something out too. So Graham is probably one of the first like YouTube channels that I actually subscribed to and followed religiously when I first started looking at just investing in general and trying to get better in my finances and learning myself. His channel was definitely super helpful. So the fact that you pointed that out, man, I think that's awesome. So not a podcast, but he does have a podcast actually. It's called the Iced Coffee Hour. So we can settle that there and say that's the podcast. But yeah, man, great recommendations, great book as well. The monotony of that is what's important about that is because it's so repetitive in what it's talking about, it just like sticks it in your brain. And a lot of those books are like that, because that's the whole point, is to, when you finish reading that, it's in there and it ain't going away. So awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. Great recommendations. This has been a fantastic conversation. We had a little technical hiccup, but we got over that and we're finishing this thing up. And actually, I do have one more question for you. I just realized that I almost skipped without asking you the most important question of all. And that is, so throughout this entire conversation, there's a lot of great golden nuggets and gems that you've dropped for everybody. For somebody that's wanting to get into short-term rentals or just learn more about what you're doing, they're like, hey, I really liked that conversation with Michael and really want to check out his stuff. Where can they find more information about you and your academy and things like that? Do you have a website you could share with us? And of course, all your social medias. We would love to be able to follow you.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you asking. bnbinvestoracademy.com is where you'll find all of the information. If you guys want to take the leap into short-term rentals, really scale that business into something substantial, definitely check that website out. And then my social media, it's the same across all accounts, but it's at @melefante6. And there are a lot of spam accounts out there. So just make sure you got the right one. But yeah, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. Usually I'm the most responsive on that channel.
Awesome. I will make sure we have all the links in the show notes to make it easier, and a direct link to your Instagram, not one of the spam accounts. So it'll be easier for people to just click and copy and paste away. Just don't do it while you're driving, folks. Okay. Michael, again, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, awesome. And hey, to my listeners, thank you so much for joining me and our special guest, Michael Elefante, on the Average Joe Finances podcast. Go leave us a 5-star review and tell us what you liked about today's episode with Michael. Aloha from Hawaii, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.